Hey, Sweet Thang, how you doing? Welcome back to Baking Corner with Mickey. I'm so glad to have y'all here with me today. If it is your first time seeing my face, my name is Mickey. Hopefully it won't be the last, so make sure that you like this video and also subscribe so that you can continue to stay in the know of what is going on in the Baking Corner. So today's recipe, it is brand new to me. I have never, ever made one of these before, and I'm kind of nervous because it's like you could probably mess it up, but nonetheless, we are going to be learning together, okay? So today we are going to be making a pumpkin pie. I am nervous, but I'm excited, and I hope y'all are too. So grab your apron and let's get baking.
I hope y'all didn't think that this was going to be some shortcut pumpkin pie. No, no, no. We are going to make a pumpkin puree using this pumpkin that you see me cleaning off right now. I went to the farmer's market and they said that they were giving away the pumpkins that they had. So I said, you know what? Why not? So I gave it a nice good scrub with my scrub daddy and then I went to cutting. Never have I ever in my adult years needed to cut a pumpkin. So here I am just doing what I can, literally. Like, I cut the top off in, I guess, the safest way possible. And then I literally just started carving the pieces. I wanted to, of course, remove the gunk out of the middle. I saw that you can, of course, save the pumpkin seeds to, bake them and use them in other dishes. So I'll probably do that. So I'm using my muscles and any other tools that I can to really scrape all of the gunk out of here. I knew that I was going to have to bust it open, so I just went ahead because I can get the corners and all of the extra gunk hiding behind whatever crevices if I just cut it open and expose the whole thing. This was actually kind of fun. Like, I don't know, just having this big pumpkin and breaking it down into this little tiny scrap and then pureeing it down to make actual pumpkin to use in my dessert, it really amazed me and it really made me think like you have everything that you need, literally. So I ended up cutting the pumpkin into fourths and then I removed the gunk. Once that was done, I placed it in the oven for about an hour on a 375-degree heat. To know if it was done, I poked it in the center just like I would do a cake with a fork or a knife. It should be tender and soft in all places, but if not, just stick it back in the oven for a little while. When they're done and when they cool off, you're going to want to break them in half and then just go ahead and slice the rind off of the pumpkin. And it should just leave you with this yellow flesh. Once the rind was removed, I went ahead and placed the flesh of the pumpkin into my blender. If you don't have a blender or if you don't want to use your blender for this, you could also use an immersion blender or you could use a food processor. If none of those options are available, you could also use a potato masher and just go hand to hand combat with your pumpkin. If needed, you could add water to your blend just so that it could give you a smoother puree. But since I did have a lot of water already developed within the pumpkin itself, I just used that and then gave it a good little stir so that it could get really fine. So now that we have our main ingredient, we can actually begin the recipe. I got this recipe from Baby Cakes. If you know, you know. I'll be dropping the link for that recipe in the description below. For this recipe, I started out with 15 ounces of the pumpkin puree. I put it into my stand mixer bowl, but for this recipe, you don't need a stand mixer. You really don't even need a hand mixer. If you want, you can go in with a simple whisk and bowl. I'm gonna add 1 1/3 cup of brown sugar. The recipe calls for dark brown sugar, but honestly, light will do. If you want, you can add a teaspoon of molasses just to supplement that color. If I were to do this again, I would of course use a whisk attachment and then I would whisk the eggs before I put them in. The recipe calls for 2 eggs and 1 yolk. And I think that that would do just fine had I whisked them together and added them slowly in my mixer. And if I did make this again, which I probably will, I would just use a whisk and a bowl. Instead of breaking out my stand mixer or even my hand mixer, I would literally just go in and whip it. And another thing, whenever I make this again, I would use a cornstarch slurry instead of just doing the raw cornstarch in there. I don't know why I thought that was a good idea, but it cost me a lot on the back end. I had to eventually get in there with my whisk anyway to break up the clumps. And I feel like it probably would have been thicker had I added the slurry from the beginning. Once it has thickened up a little bit, I went ahead to give it another whirl with my mixer, and then I'm going to add in the heavy whipping cream. I did a cup of this, but I honestly think it could have used less, if I'm being honest. It added a bit of a thicker texture to the pie, but it's not something that I feel like saved it. I don't know. I don't know. Now I think I really got to do it again because I want to try something different just to see how all of the different ways and the tips that I thought of just now can like make the pie better. Cause it wasn't bad, but I feel like it was just my first time making it. I didn't really know what I was doing. So we just had to figure it out, okay? And that's totally fine. But I baked it in the oven for about 40 minutes to an hour on a 325, and then it came out okay. Like I said, I would probably give it a 5 out of 10. I'm not a pumpkin pie girly from the jump, but it was all right. Just know we definitely got a part 2 coming. So subscribe to the channel and be on the lookout for that. But until then, I'll see y'all next week.